Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be having some kettle corn. And for those of you who have never been to like a fair or anything where you can get some kettle corn, it's basically sweet, like almost caramelized popcorn. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not very familiar with the popularity of kettle corn. I don't know if it's like a regional thing. Is it like an American thing? Is it a globally consumed delicacy? Maybe some of my viewers who are not from the U.S. can elaborate on whether they're familiar with kettle corn or not. Anyway, I'm going to be having kettle corn and some mango lemonade. Yum. Not sure how the tartness of the mango lemonade is going to pair with the sweetness of the kettle corn, but time will tell. Let's start out with that much. I'm definitely not going to finish the whole bag of kettle corn here, but poured out a fair amount. That's the thing, is whenever you get kettle corn from a fair or show or something, they just give you so much. Who's eating all of that? I guess people are. I don't know. I'm a small person, so I don't consume as much as your average American does, but it's still just so much. It always goes stale before I get to finish it. Anyway. Tastes good. My mom got this for me from a craft show in our area that was going on over the weekend. It's a couple days old now, but it's not stale. It's still nice and crunchy and springy. Pretty good. Fun fact, this is actually my second take at this video. Because my first take, I live by a train track, like a rail, and it's like a cargo rail. Only cargo trains, it's not a passenger train rail. And so there's really long cargo trains that like seem never ending. They go by. And it's quite loud. So that happened about 2 minutes into the first take. And so I actually poured the mango lemonade back into the bottle, and I poured the popcorn back into the bag and closed it all up. So if you came here afraid of the truth and frustrated by breaks in the fourth wall and frustrated by what's the word I'm looking for? Discontinuity or whatever. I'm sorry, but I gotta keep it real with you. I chose earrings today that would match the yellow popcorn and the yellow lemonade. They're gold-colored hoops. And the reason I say gold-colored is because they're certainly not gold. I got like a pack of 4 pairs of these on Amazon for like $10. Like gold, silver, rose gold, and black. But they're all stainless steel. I don't really care too much about like the value of my earrings. As long as I look cool and don't mess with my skin, I'm good. Yeah, I haven't posted in a while. Relatively for me, I mean, it's been over a week. It was probably the longest gap that I've had over the past few months. And I can't really attribute that to one particular reason. Kind of just do this channel for fun, honestly. And I like to keep it that way. So yeah, stuff goes on in life. It was a particularly busy couple weeks for me, and things have just freed up a bit. And I have fun doing these, so I figure, let's do it. Let's get back into it. But my most recent comment on my most recent video was something like, somebody just said, like, can we get another video? And it's always so, that just, it makes me think about like how inadequate text communication is when you compare it to face-to-face communication that's audible and has tone and inflection and volume. It's very hard to transfer tone through text. So that commenter commented on, commented, can we get another video? Question mark. No emojis, no caps or anything like that. And I think that text is interesting because we project ourselves onto the text. I mean, we project ourselves onto everything. We project ourselves onto in-person communication too, but there's a lot more information that you can glean from face-to-face communication. So there becomes less room to obviously project, like, say, your insecurities onto a face-to-face conversation. It's very easy to project your insecurities or your complexes or whatever onto text. In the same way that it's easy to have a fight with a dummy, you know, like a rubber dummy, not like a dumb person. That's not like a, you know, because those don't punch back in the same way. Like text doesn't talk back or react back or anything, you know. So it's easy to do that. And so my first reaction was like, when the person said, can we get another video? I was like, oh, this person must be impatient, and the tone, I interpreted the tone to be one of like frustration. Like, hey dude, you owe us videos. It's about time. Can we get another one? Geez. But thinking about it rationally, that's probably not the tone that the writer had in mind. It might have been like a compliment or something of that nature, you know? Like, hey, I really like your videos, and I would love another one. It could have just as easily been that. So yeah, interesting to think about, you know. I always like to, okay, so there's a difference between what I tend to do and what I want or like to do. What, in these scenarios, in scenarios of communication where you have to understand the other person or empathize with them or gather their intention behind what they say. What I tend to do historically is like assume, I actually tend not to ask questions to clarify intent or meaning. I work hard to make accurate assumptions without actually asking for more information from the person. I feel like it's my job to understand perfectly what the person meant the first time. And probably part of me is scared to ask for clarification. A lot of our fears are irrational and built up in our head way more than they actually are in real life, you know? So it might be this fear of like, oh, you're so stupid, you can't even understand what I'm saying, like, the first time. But that doesn't happen, like, that doesn't normally happen. If you ask, there's nothing wrong with asking for clarification. That's why teachers are always telling you, oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I would word that better, because when you speak in absolutes like that, especially to kids in school, their first tendency is probably going to be to negate that absolute. Like, teacher would say, oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And then a kid will ask something, and then another kid would be like, except for that question, you know, or something like that. Like, the absolutes are very often used as source material for, like, high school snarkiness. What I would say instead, I would flip that, and instead of focusing on the negative characteristic of like a stupid question, I would flip it and say, you know, like, asking questions is the sign of a curious mind, or asking simple questions helps to promote understanding, or like something along those lines, you know. Can't think of like a zingy one-liner off the top of my head, but that's how I would phrase it, without including the negative. It's like the golden rule, right? Like, treat others how you wish to be treated. The golden rule, it didn't say, don't treat others how you wouldn't like to be treated. Not only because that's a double negative, but also because it paints a negative picture in your mind. But then when you say the positive, like, treat others how you wish to be treated, now all of a sudden you're asking yourself, how do I wish to be treated, right? So when a teacher says there's no such thing as a stupid question, the only part of that phrase that really lingers in your mind is this idea of a stupid question. So now you start thinking of, well, stupid questions, right? You start wondering about whether your questions are stupid, because just because your teacher said there's no such thing as a stupid question, that part doesn't stick. The part that sticks is the term stupid question. And I remember this thing about, like, somebody said in my comments, oh, I can tell you've taken psychology courses before, and I appreciate that, dude. I've only taken one. It was like AP Psychology my junior year of high school. But I remember I retained more from that class than like any other class I've ever taken in high school or college or extracurricularly or whatever. But I remember this thing from like child psychology about like teaching your kids what's like, you know, what's good and what's bad and what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And the classic example that I remember is crossing the road. So you could tell the child, don't cross a busy road, or don't cross the road when there are cars in it. but the way the child's brain works, and honestly the way adult brains work too, from my experience, is people don't remember whether you said to do or not to do that thing. They only remember what the thing is. Let me explain. If you tell a child, don't cross a busy road, the image that comes into the child's head is one of crossing a busy road, right? Don't doesn't really contribute to that image. The word don't doesn't last in your head, but the image of crossing a busy road does last. And so what will the child tend toward? Well, the child is going to be mulling over this idea of crossing a busy road now, and chances are higher that the child will cross the busy road because that's the image that the child has in their head, versus if you were to instruct the child differently and say something like, always look both ways to make sure the road is safe before you cross it, or always look both ways before crossing the road, or look left, right, left. In the US anyway. In many other countries it's right, left, right. Look both ways before you cross the road. Now the mental image in the child's head will be of stopping and looking both ways to make sure the coast is clear. Even if you said don't look both ways before crossing the road, the image would still be of stopping and looking both ways, right? So it's important to focus on the content of what you're saying and the words you're using, rather than whether you're just applying a negation to that visual or not. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like I'm not as on top of it with the simple eloquency today. But yeah, anyways, rewinding. What I tend to do, rewinding to 10 minutes ago, what I tend to do when someone comments something like that, or when someone's talking to me, is not ask questions and just make educated assumptions, or what I consider to be educated assumptions about what they meant. What I like to do, and what I believe should be done, and what I am trying to do more of, is to just ask as many questions as I can, or double clarify, right? Triple clarify, especially if you're working with a team on something. In the moment, those efforts might come across as extraneous or unnecessary, but that can save you from a lot of grief and misunderstanding in the long run. So, having not only the humility, but also, in many cases, the confidence and the bravery to ask for elaboration or to ask additional questions on something that you're not clear on, is a very important skill in life, I think. I'm getting better at it. Misunderstandings are rife in the professional world and the personal world. And if proper communication is the fundamental key to building good relationships, that communication should pair hand in hand with understanding, right? Communication is useless if there's no understanding achieved from it. And if that understanding requires asking questions, asking additional questions, or asking stupid questions, right? Just do it. It's worth it. A lot of the times, people are more similar. We're not as singled out as we like to believe, I think. And this could also be a cultural thing because of the hyper-individualistic culture of the country that I'm in. But people are often on the same wavelength, more often than they would like to think. So if you're asking a stupid question, chances are there's somebody else in a room of maybe 50 people who has the same question as you, but is maybe too afraid to ask it. or did what I tend to do and just made an assumption about it that could be wrong. So by you asking the question, you're inadvertently helping the other person as well. And it's kind of a similar reason why I started this channel. For those of you who have seen some of my older videos, you probably hear me talk about this, but for those of you who are new or don't remember, whatever, point is, I started this channel because there's a style of ASMR that I like. And I wasn't seeing enough out there that matched what I like. So I was like, why don't I just make the videos myself? And so here I am. And I'm like, if I want this thing, chances are there are other people in the world, out of the billions of viewers online, who will also want what I want. There's probably an audience for this. If the internet has taught us anything, there's an audience for everything. Especially in ASMR. There's a niche for every type of ASMR video you could think of. There's probably, I don't know, there's probably ASMR videos of people just silent ASMR videos. I'm sure of it. I don't even have to search it on YouTube. I know there's going to be an ASMR video that's just quiet. There's nothing. No sound. It has to be. Like, maybe call it visual ASMR, and it's like the person's eyes moving around or something, or just the person going like this, or something like that, but just muted. I wouldn't be surprised at all. So yeah. Last video I got philosophical about a banana, picking bananas from the grocery store. This video I'm getting philosophical about a YouTube comment. Ooh. To those of you who have asked for like part 2 or part 3 of certain videos, thank you. It's a great, it makes me feel really good that you like things enough to want to see more of them. That's really gratifying for me. And chances are, if I made a part 1 in the first place, then it's because I wanted to do it and I liked it. So if you want a part 2, I'll probably do that. I really like eating videos. I didn't know whether I would do eating videos when I got started with this, but they were pretty chill. I get to eat, so that's good. Nearing the end here. Excuse me. All done. There's still plenty of kettle corn left. But I'm not going to eat all this kettle corn. At least not today, so. watching as always. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. I don't know, I went to go do a peace sign, and then I went like that. Who knows why? See ya.